In a world where wars are no longer just fought on battlefields, power has become invisible, strategic, and terrifyingly complex. 4 nations, 4 different military philosophies, 4 different ways to dominate a region where one mistake can ignite a global conflict. On one side, a nation that turned isolation into innovation, building missiles and drones that can strike from the shadows. On another, a country so technologically advanced, it can intercept rockets in mid-air and eliminate threats before they even appear. To the south, a kingdom fueled by oil and billions of dollars, buying some of the most powerful weapons on Earth. And beyond them, a nuclear-armed state, where the balance of power rests on weapons that must never be used. This is not just a comparison of armies. This is a story of strategy, of survival, of dominance. Because in today's world, military power is not measured only by soldiers or tanks. It is measured by influence, by reach, by the ability to control fear itself. From the Strait of Hormuz to the skies over Tel Aviv, from Riyadh's defense systems to the nuclear doctrine of Islamabad. These 4 nations are shaping the future of warfare in ways the world is only beginning to understand. And the question is no longer who is strongest, but who would win if everything changed overnight. As the dust settles across the Middle East, one country stands at the center of nearly every major tension in the region: Iran. A nation that has faced decades of sanctions, isolation, and pressure from global powers, yet continues to expand its military influence far beyond its borders. But Iran did not become powerful in the traditional way. It does not rely on massive aircraft carriers or cutting-edge Western fighter jets. Instead, it built something different, something unpredictable. Knowing it could not compete directly with technologically superior enemies, Iran designed its entire military doctrine around one idea: make war too costly for anyone to win. Instead of matching power with power, Iran invested in asymmetry. Ballistic missiles capable of traveling hundreds, even thousands of kilometers. Drone technology that is cheap, effective, and increasingly precise. Naval tactics built around speed, surprise, and disruption rather than dominance. And perhaps most importantly, a network of influence that stretches across multiple countries. Because Iran does not always fight its wars directly. In Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, aligned groups and militias extend Iran's reach, allowing it to project power without crossing its own borders. This strategy has transformed Iran into something more than just a nation. It has become a system of influence. At the heart of this system is a powerful force known as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Not just a military unit, but an institution with deep control over security, intelligence, and even parts of the economy. While Iran's regular army exists, it is the Revolutionary Guard that shapes strategy, commands regional operations, and defines how Iran responds to threats. And those threats are constant. Because directly across from Iran stands one of the most technologically advanced military powers in the world: Israel. A country that approaches warfare with a completely different mindset. Where Iran relies on endurance and indirect pressure, Israel relies on speed, intelligence, and precision. Its doctrine is simple but ruthless in execution. Neutralize threats before they grow, strike before being struck, and maintain absolute superiority in the air. Israel's air force is among the most advanced anywhere, equipped with cutting-edge fighter jets and supported by real-time intelligence that can track targets with extraordinary accuracy. But what truly sets Israel apart is its defense. Systems designed not just to fight wars, but to prevent damage altogether. Missile defense technologies capable of intercepting incoming rockets mid-air have changed the rules of modern conflict. Instead of absorbing attacks, Israel aims to erase them. And this creates a stark contrast. On one side, Iran builds volume, large numbers of missiles and drones designed to overwhelm. On the other, Israel builds precision, systems designed to stop those attacks before they land. It is a constant technological and strategic race, a silent war, fought through preparation. But this balance does not exist in isolation, because to the south, another major player has taken a very different path to military power. A nation that did not rely on isolation or technological innovation alone, but on something far more straightforward: money. Lots of it. Saudi Arabia. A country that has spent decades transforming its military through massive investments, purchasing advanced weapon systems from the United States and Europe, fighter jets, missile defense systems, advanced armored vehicles. Unlike Iran, Saudi Arabia did not need to build everything from scratch. It bought some of the best military technology available in the world. And yet, despite its enormous spending, questions remain. Because military power is not only about what you own, but how you use it. And that difference becomes critical when compared to nations that have spent years refining their strategies through real conflict. Still, Saudi Arabia remains a key force in the region, not just because of its military, but because of its position, its resources, and its alliances. And beyond all of them, lies a country whose power is measured in an entirely different way. Not by drones, not by defense systems, but by something far more dangerous: nuclear weapons. Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the few Islamic nations in the world to possess nuclear weapons. And that single fact changes everything. Because in modern geopolitics, nuclear capability is more than military strength. It is deterrence. It is the ability to force enemies to think twice before crossing a line that can never be uncrossed. Unlike Israel, which is believed to possess nuclear weapons but maintains strategic ambiguity, Pakistan openly developed its nuclear program under intense global pressure, transforming itself into a military power capable of reshaping the balance of South Asia and beyond. Its military is one of the largest in the world, built around discipline, structure, and rapid mobilization. And over decades, Pakistan has developed close defense ties with China, gaining access to modern fighter aircraft, missile systems, and strategic cooperation that strengthened its position in the region. But Pakistan's strength is not based only on nuclear weapons. Its army has decades of operational experience: border conflicts, counter-terrorism operations, mountain warfare, urban warfare. For years, Pakistan's military has operated in one of the most unstable security environments on Earth. And that experience has shaped a force designed to respond quickly under pressure. Unlike Saudi Arabia, which relies heavily on imported military systems, Pakistan has increasingly focused on domestic production and strategic partnerships. Unlike Iran, which built its power through asymmetrical warfare, Pakistan still maintains a more traditional military structure centered around conventional force and nuclear deterrence. And unlike Israel, which depends on technological superiority, Pakistan depends on strategic balance. Because in nuclear politics, victory is not always about winning. Sometimes it is about preventing war from happening at all. But while these four nations built military power in different ways, they are all preparing for the same reality: a future where warfare is changing faster than ever before. Because modern wars are no longer decided only by tanks and soldiers. Now wars are fought with satellites, cyber attacks, artificial intelligence, economic pressure, drones capable of striking targets hundreds of kilometers away. And information itself has become a weapon. Iran understood this early. Its drone program evolved from a regional experiment into a global concern: cheap to produce, difficult to intercept, and highly adaptable. Iranian drone technology has appeared in multiple conflict zones, demonstrating how smaller, lower-cost systems can challenge even advanced militaries. For countries with limited budgets, this changed military thinking completely. Because suddenly, expensive fighter jets were no longer the only way to project power. At the same time, Israel pushed military technology into another dimension. Artificial intelligence integrated into battlefield analysis, advanced surveillance systems, cyber warfare capabilities that operate silently. Single bullet being fired. In many ways, Israel became a blueprint for the future of high-tech warfare. And Saudi Arabia, determined not to fall behind, accelerated its modernization efforts even further. Billions of dollars flowed into defense contracts. Advanced air defense systems were deployed to protect oil infrastructure in strategic locations. The kingdom began investing not only in weapons, but also in military industries, attempting to reduce dependence on foreign suppliers over the long term. But despite all these advances, one uncomfortable truth remains. Technology alone does not guarantee victory. History has proven that again and again. Sometimes, smaller forces with determination, strategy, and patience can exhaust far stronger enemies. And this is exactly why Iran's military philosophy remains so dangerous to its rivals. Because Iran understands endurance, it understands pressure, it understands how to survive. For decades, sanctions attempted to isolate the country. Yet instead of collapsing militarily, Iran adapted. It learned how to build under restrictions, how to innovate with limited resources, how to create systems designed not for perfection, but for sustainability. And that resilience worries its enemies. Meanwhile, Israel views survival through an entirely different lens. For Israel, speed is essential. Every threat must be identified early. Every danger must be neutralized rapidly. Because geographically, Israel is small. A successful large-scale attack could have devastating consequences. This reality shaped an aggressive defense doctrine where waiting is considered dangerous. And Saudi Arabia faces another challenge entirely: protecting enormous territory and critical energy infrastructure. Oil fields, pipelines, ports, economic centers, all vulnerable in modern warfare, especially in an age where drones and missiles can bypass traditional defenses. And then there is Pakistan, a country balancing regional rivalry, internal security challenges, and the responsibility of maintaining nuclear stability in one of the world's most sensitive geopolitical environments. Each nation carries its own fears, its own strategy, its own vision of survival, and together, they form one of the most complex military rivalries on Earth. But if military strength is not measured only by weapons, then what truly determines power? Experience? Technology? Money? Nuclear capability? Or influence? Because in the modern Middle East and South Asia, sometimes the most powerful weapon is not the missile you launch, but the fear that you might. For decades, the Middle East has existed under the shadow of uncertainty. A region where peace is fragile, alliances are temporary, and military readiness is treated as a necessity for survival. And within this environment, every nation has been forced to evolve. Not only militarily, but psychologically. Because modern warfare is no longer only about destroying an enemy. It is about controlling escalation, controlling perception, and controlling fear. Iran mastered this strategy through ambiguity. Often operating indirectly, Iran expanded its influence without always engaging in direct confrontation. This approach allowed Tehran to pressure rivals while reducing the risks of full-scale war. Instead of relying entirely on traditional military superiority, Iran built layers of influence: missiles underground, drone factories hidden from satellites, fast-attack naval units capable of disrupting critical shipping routes, and regional alliances capable of creating pressure across multiple fronts simultaneously. This transformed Iran into a strategic puzzle for its enemies. Because defeating a conventional army is one thing, but confronting a decentralized network of influence is something far more difficult. And nowhere is that tension more visible than in the waters of the Persian Gulf, one of the most strategically important regions in the world. a narrow passage through which enormous amounts of global oil move every single day. Any military escalation there could immediately affect energy markets, global economies, and international security. Iran understands this leverage very well. Even without matching Western naval power directly, its ability to threaten shipping routes gives it strategic influence far beyond its size. Small boats, naval mines, missiles positioned along the coastline, all designed around one idea: disruption, not domination. And that difference matters, because sometimes the ability to interrupt global systems becomes more powerful than direct military conquest itself. Meanwhile, Israel focuses on something equally critical: maintaining absolute military readiness at all times. Israeli defense planning assumes that threats can emerge from multiple directions simultaneously: missiles from long distances, drone attacks, cyber warfare, cross-border infiltration. This constant pressure forced Israel to build one of the fastest military response systems in the world. Reserve forces capable of rapid mobilization, integrated intelligence networks, advanced missile interception systems, and air superiority designed to project power almost instantly. But maintaining that level of readiness comes at a cost. It requires continuous investment, constant modernization, and an intelligence advantage that can never afford to fail. Because in a region where reaction time can mean survival, even a small mistake can become catastrophic. Saudi Arabia, watching both Iran and Israel carefully, has increasingly shifted toward defensive modernization. The kingdom's leadership understands that economic stability is directly tied to national security. Without secure infrastructure, energy exports become vulnerable. Without protection, economic power becomes fragile. This is why Saudi Arabia invested heavily in missile defense systems, surveillance technologies, and advanced air capabilities. But despite its massive spending, military analysts often debate a difficult question: can expensive military systems alone create real battlefield effectiveness? Because combat experience cannot simply be purchased. It must be learned. And this is where Pakistan's military culture stands out. Unlike many countries that primarily prepare through simulations and exercises, Pakistan's military has operated for years under real strategic pressure. Its geography alone creates enormous military complexity: mountain borders, regional tensions, counterterrorism operations, and the constant requirement to maintain credible nuclear deterrence. This environment shaped a military mindset built around readiness, discipline, and strategic calculation. But Pakistan also understands the terrifying reality of nuclear weapons better than most nations. Because once nuclear conflict begins, there are no true winners, only consequences. And this reality influences every major military decision in the region. Even countries without officially declared nuclear arsenals are forced to think in nuclear terms. Deterrence, escalation, retaliation. These concepts dominate modern military planning, which is why many conflicts today stop just before reaching total war. Not because nations suddenly seek peace, but because the risks became too dangerous to calculate. And yet, despite all the missiles, fighter jets, and military doctrines, another battlefield is quietly emerging: cyber warfare. Invisible attacks capable of shutting down infrastructure, disrupting communications, damaging economies, and influencing entire populations without a single explosion. Israel is considered one of the global leaders in cyber capabilities. Iran has also invested heavily in cyber operations. And across the region, governments increasingly recognize that future wars may begin not with bombs, but with keyboards. The battlefield itself is changing. Artificial intelligence now assists surveillance systems. Autonomous drones are becoming more advanced every year. Satellite intelligence can monitor troop movements in real time. Information spreads globally within seconds, and propaganda has become a strategic weapon. In many ways, modern warfare is becoming less human and more technological. But technology alone cannot erase one ancient reality: fear. Fear still drives military strategy. Fear still drives arms races. Fear still pushes nations to prepare for wars they hope never happens. Iran fears isolation and invasion. Israel fears annihilation. Saudi Arabia fears instability. Pakistan fears imbalance. And these fears continue shaping the future of one of the most militarized regions on Earth. Because ultimately, military power is not only about strength, it is about survival. In the end, the true balance of power between Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan cannot be measured by numbers alone, because military power is more complicated now than at any other time in history. A country with advanced technology can dominate the skies, but still fear endless missile attacks. A nation with billions of dollars in weapons can still struggle against unconventional warfare. A nuclear power can prevent invasion, yet remain trapped in permanent tension. And a heavily sanctioned state can still project influence across an entire region. This is the paradox of modern warfare. Strength no longer guarantees security. In fact, sometimes greater power creates greater vulnerability. Iran understands this reality through resistance. For decades, pressure from sanctions, isolation, and military threats forced the country to adapt in ways few nations ever experience. It built a strategy around patience, around endurance, around making conflict too expensive for its enemies to sustain. Israel, on the other hand, built its survival around superiority. Technological superiority, intelligence superiority, rapid military response. For Israel, hesitation can be dangerous. Every second matters. Every threat must be identified early and eliminated quickly. And that mindset has shaped one of the most advanced military systems in the modern world. Saudi Arabia chose another path, using wealth to transform itself into a regional military giant. Modern aircraft, sophisticated missile defense systems, massive defense partnerships with global powers. But the kingdom also understands that protecting economic stability is now just as important as defending borders. Because in the 21st century, destroying infrastructure can be as devastating as defeating armies. And then there is Pakistan, a nation whose military identity is inseparable from nuclear deterrence. Its power lies not only in conventional force, but in strategic balance. A reminder that some weapons are designed not to be used, but to prevent wars from happening at all. Yet despite their differences, these four nations share one critical truth. None of them can fully control the future, because modern conflict has become unpredictable. A single drone strike can trigger international crisis. A cyber attack can cripple infrastructure without warning. An assassination, a miscalculation, or even a political misunderstanding can rapidly push entire regions toward escalation. And in a world connected by technology, energy markets, and global alliances, regional conflicts no longer stay regional for long. This is why the rivalry between these nations matters far beyond the Middle East or South Asia. The consequences affect the entire world: oil prices, global trade, international security, diplomatic alliances, even the future direction of military technology itself. Because every conflict becomes a lesson, every military innovation becomes a warning, and every escalation changes how nations prepare for the next war. But perhaps the most dangerous reality of all is that every side believes it is acting in self-defense. Iran sees resistance as survival. Israel sees preemptive power as necessity. Saudi Arabia sees military modernization as protection. Pakistan sees deterrence as stability. Each nation believes its strategy is justified. Each nation believes its fears are real. And when every side believes it is defending itself, conflict becomes far more difficult to stop. So who is truly the strongest? The nation with the most advanced technology, the largest missile arsenal, the strongest economy, the most powerful alliances, or the country most willing to endure hardship for survival. Empires have collapsed unexpectedly. Smaller forces have defeated larger enemies. Advanced militaries have struggled against unconventional tactics. And sometimes, the side that survives the longest changes history itself. As the world moves deeper into an era shaped by artificial intelligence, cyber warfare, autonomous drones, and nuclear deterrence, the rivalry between Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan will continue evolving. Not only as a military competition, but as a battle of ideologies, strategies, fears, and visions for the future. And somewhere beneath the missiles, the headlines, and the political rhetoric, millions of ordinary people continue living under the shadow of uncertainty, hoping that preparation never turns into catastrophe, because once modern war truly begins, there may be no easy way to stop it. In the end, the greatest victory may not belong to the nation that wins the war, but to the one that prevents it. Friends, this is the first video on my channel. If you like the video, then support me with your sincere love. If you get a little love from me, I will bring more beautiful videos to my channel later. What kind of history do you like? Please comment.